Today on the Audio Hotline, I'm going to be reviewing the Audio-Technica AT2020 USB-X. And as of right now, you can find this microphone online for $149 US. Now in this review, I'll be taking you through the accessories, the features, the specs. We'll test this microphone out, and I will also do a blind comparison. The microphones that I am going to include in this comparison, I'll put up on the screen right now. Sadly, I will not be able to compare the older version of this microphone, the AT2020 USB+, to this newer version. A little while ago, I gave it away in a giveaway that I was doing. However, years ago, I did do a comparison between the Blue Yeti and the AT2020 USB+, and I will include the Blue Yeti in this video, so you'll at least be able to see how this stacks up against the Blue Yeti, and you can go check out that older video also and see how the old one stacks up against it too. But when it comes to the USB-X version of this microphone versus the USB+ version, the old version, I will say there are a lot of similarities. They look pretty similar. They're physically slightly different. This one does have like a touch-sensitive mute button, but internally the X is quite a bit better than the Plus. The old version of this microphone could go up to 16-bit at 48 kilohertz, while this one maxes out at 24-bit at 96 kilohertz. So that's definitely a welcome addition, and overall I will say that I do like the look of the new one a little bit better. Some people that will matter too. Some people hate it when I mention the look of a microphone, but just take it or leave it. But one thing I will say about the USB-X, and I probably will just keep calling it the USB-X throughout this review because the AT2020 USB-X is a long name. But one disadvantage that the USB-X does have versus the USB Plus is that when the USB Plus was released a long time ago, there wasn't nearly as much competition in the USB microphone game, especially the USB condenser microphone game. And that's a big part of why I include blind comparisons in my reviews, just so you can listen to the competition and see how this microphone stacks up. So if you are looking to upgrade your AT2020 USB Plus, the default upgrade path is not the USB-X. There are a lot of other solid USB microphones out there that you could choose from. And not to mention, there are a lot of amazing audio interfaces that are pretty inexpensive now that you could easily get with a pretty inexpensive microphone that also sounds great. One thing I do want to mention is that I am going to be coming out with a video that explains the differences between audio interfaces and XLR microphones versus USB microphones, and which one might be the better choice for you. So if you're interested in seeing something like that, make sure to subscribe and it'll be out pretty soon. But let's just go ahead and jump into some details about this microphone. Let's talk about the accessories. If you decide to purchase the Audio-Technica AT2020 USB-X microphone, it will come with a desktop microphone stand. In addition, it will come with a USB-A to USB-C cable, and also it will come with a USB-A to USB-C adapter. This does also come with a 5/8 to 3/8 inch stand adapter. It's not the usual one that you would think of. It's actually a female 5/8 to male 3/8. But other than that, it comes with the microphone itself, the AT2020 USB-X. Now when it comes to the accessories and the build quality of them, I think it's pretty good. You know, I'm just not the biggest fan of a lot of these desktop stands. For instance, this one I have propped up on a box right now. That's fun, because if I didn't, I'd be talking over it like this, and this doesn't sound nearly as good as this sounds. So unless your desk to mouth ratio is really small, you're probably gonna want like some sort of boom arm or a microphone stand. Is the desk stand completely useless? No, but it's close to useless. If you're not going to be on camera and you're just doing like a voiceover for your video with this microphone, you're not going to have a problem, because if you just, hunky down on your desk, just get a little hunker city, then that's fine. You can make that happen. But in the situation that I'm in, and the situation I've ever been in when I'm recording with a microphone, I need a little bit more of a variety, a little more versatility when it comes to a microphone stand. I need it to do different things and not only be a few inches off my desk. One thing I absolutely loved that this came with was the USB-A to USB-C adapter. I always love it when a mic comes with a USB-C to USB-C cable and a USB-C to USB-A cable. But with this coming with the adapter, it kind of solves the problem of not needing two cables and just using the adapter with the one cable. Now this USB microphone does have a 3/8 threading on the bottom of it, so it does make sense that it included a 3/8 to 5/8 adapter, so I did love that they included that. I mean, one thing that you could say is a little bit of a bummer is that some USB condenser microphones are now coming with pop filters, and this one doesn't include a pop filter or a windscreen. Now, the build of the microphone I think is fantastic. Audio-Technica does a great job with a lot of their microphones, and they did not skimp on this one. This is a really good build. And I mean, you gotta love the light. The last microphone, the AT2020 USB Plus, had a light and it wasn't as nice as this, but it still was a big selling point for that microphone. Now for me, I kind of wish that there was the option to turn that light off. But one additional thing with the light that we'll talk about in the feature section here in a second, this light changes colors. Well, changes to one other color when it's muted. I'll just show you now. But speaking of the features section, let's go ahead and dive into that. Starting on the bottom of the AT2020 USB-X, you will find a USB-C port, and you will also find some 3/8 threading so you can put this on a stand. Now going to the front of the microphone, you will see a touch-sensitive mute button. The blue light that turns on when this microphone is powered will turn red when the microphone is muted. And above that button on the left side, you will see a mix control. This will determine whether you hear latency-free monitoring from the microphone or playback from the computer. To the right of that is your headphone volume control. And speaking of headphones, on the back of the microphone is where you will find your headphone jack. This is a 1/8 inch jack, or also known as 3.5mm. The features of this microphone are really solid. It pretty much does everything that I would want it to do, but there are two things that I wish were a little bit different. I wish that the headphone jack was on the bottom of this microphone, and also I wish this microphone had a gain control knob. So just know that if you are going to get this microphone, you will actually have to go change the gain in your sound settings on your computer, rather than being able to change that directly on the microphone. This not having a gain knob is definitely the biggest bummer to me. However, I do like the fact that it does have a mix control knob. And since we're talking about the features right now anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and test out the mute button and see if it pops or clicks when you engage it. This is the microphone unmuted, obviously. Now the microphone is unmuted. I don't hear any pops, but maybe there will be some in post, I'm not sure. Now let's go ahead and move on to the specs. The Audio-Technica AT2020X has a permanently polarized condenser capsule. This has a cardioid polar pattern, a frequency response of 20 Hz to 20 kHz, a maximum bit depth and sample rate of 24-bit at 96 kHz. This has a headphone output of 32 ohms and a system requirement of USB 2.0. I will put the supported operating systems and any additional specs up on the screen. But now that all that is out of the way, now let's go ahead and start testing the Audio-Technica AT2020 USB-X out. Right now I'm recording at 24-bit at 48 kHz, which is usually what I do. I'm recording into a MacBook Pro going into Hindenburg. But now let's go ahead and start by getting sexy close to this microphone, and here's how that sounds. Now this next part's going to be a little bit loud. Let's go ahead and test out how this handles plosives. Plosive test with some pickled peanuts. Plosive pickled peanuts. Plosive test with some pickled peanuts. Plosive pickled peanuts. Just do yourself a favor and get a pop filter, okay? Just do it. Now if you're going to be typing on some really loud keys like some Cherry MX Blues, here's how this is going to reject this, or should I say not reject this. Now if you talk into the front of the microphone, here's how it sounds. Now I'm talking into the side of the microphone. Now I'm talking into the back of the microphone. Now let's go one step further with a white noise polar pattern test. Now let's do one of the most important audio tests that there is. Let's do a kitty purr test. Now I'm about 6 inches away from the microphone. Now we're about a foot away from the microphone. Now we're around 2 feet away from the microphone. Now if you're planning on getting this microphone and doing some post-processing, here's just a slight low-cut filter, probably around 60 to 80 Hertz. In addition to that, I'll put a compressor on it, possibly a limiter, and if I put any other additional stuff like a de-esser on it, I'll let you know up on the screen. Now if you are going to get a pop filter of some sort, here's how that's going to sound with that same post-processing. Now let's take this microphone into a very reverberant room, completely untreated, not a whole lot of stuff in it, and see how it sounds. Well, this is bright, but well, we'll deal with it anyway. Right now I'm in a very reverberant room. It's untreated, it's big and echoey and everything. There are probably worse rooms out there, but this one's not great. And in addition to that, the air conditioning is running right now. Now, if you're unsure of the differences between dynamic and condenser microphones, I will say rooms like this are not great for condenser microphones. In fact, a lot of people's first microphone is the Blue Yeti. And they'll get that microphone and they'll put it in an untreated room, a room that sounds terrible, or a room that has a lot of noise going on. And then they'll be like, why does this sound so terrible? Condenser microphones are going to pick up a lot more noise. They're going to pick up an echoey room. A dynamic microphone is going to do a lot better job just rejecting any additional noise. In fact, here is just a real quick example of this $100 SEV7 dynamic microphone versus the AT2020 USB-X. You can tell that the condenser microphone is picking up a lot more noise overall versus this dynamic microphone that isn't picking up nearly as much. So if you are planning on getting the USB-X and you have an untreated room, I would recommend taking a look in a different direction toward a dynamic microphone. I do have reviews of other USB dynamic microphones if you're really convinced to getting a USB mic, but I really do highly recommend XLR microphones, but do whatever you think is best for you. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a couple guitar tests. Now that we've gone through the usual tests that I do, now let's go ahead and jump into the blind comparison. Right now you are listening to a palate cleanser microphone. I actually have no idea how to pronounce this company's name, but the microphone is called the KMS-2000. My good friend Bark from Obscure Mics actually sent this over. Thank you, Bark. I don't believe they have this model available anymore, but it was like $25. But they do have a different version of it that I will link down below. I mostly just wanted an excuse to use this microphone, so here it is as a palate cleanser. But now that your ears are so damn cleansed, let's jump into the comparison. Here is the sound of microphone number 1 in the first round of this blind comparison. Here is the sound of microphone number 2 in the first round of this blind comparison. Here is the sound of microphone number 3 in the first round of this blind comparison. Here is the sound of microphone number 4 in the first round of this blind comparison. Here is the sound of microphone number 5 in the first round of this blind comparison. Here is the sound of microphone number 6 in the first round of this blind comparison. Once again, you are listening to the sound of microphone number 1 in the second round of this comparison. Once again, you are listening to the sound of microphone number 3 in the second round of this comparison. Once again, you are listening to the sound of microphone number 5 in the second round of this comparison. Once again, you are listening to the sound of microphone number 2 in the second round of this comparison. Once again, you are listening to the sound of microphone number 4 in the second round of this comparison. Once again, you are listening to the sound of microphone number 6 in the second round of this comparison. This is the final sound test for microphone number 3. This is the final sound test for microphone number 4. This is the final sound test for microphone number 1. This is the final sound test for microphone number 6. This is the final sound test for microphone number 2. This is the final sound test for microphone number 5. Are you ready for me to tell you a little secret? The blind comparison results? What do you think? You ready? Microphone number 1 was the Audio-Technica AT2020 USB-X. Microphone number 2 was the Audio-Technica AT2020, the XLR version, and it was going into a $30 audio interface, the Teiyun Q-12. So altogether, this setup is around $20 cheaper than the AT2020 USB-X. Microphone number 3 was the FiFine K678. The K678 has the same cardioid capsule as the K690. So since I'm only testing out cardioid capsules or cardioid microphones, I figured this one made sense, and if you do like this one, you could save a little bit more money if you don't need the extra polar patterns. Microphone number 4 was the Blue Yeti. Microphone number 5 was the Røde NT-USB mini microphone. Microphone number 6 was the MXL 990. This is an XLR microphone, and I once again did use it with the Teiyun Q-12. You can find this microphone anywhere from about $60 to $80 depending on the day. So this microphone and interface are anywhere from $60 to $40 cheaper than the AT2020 USB-X. Well, now that I've went back and listened to this microphone an absolute ton, listened to the comparison a lot, I'm finally ready to give you my review, my opinion of the Audio-Technica AT2020 USB-X. And the answer is yes, I did break my glasses, okay? I was cleaning them and they just snapped right in half. Fine, I'm sure it's distracting, I'll switch glasses, okay? Fine. I do just want to briefly summarize a couple points that I made earlier in this video. I do think the build quality of this microphone is pretty solid. I'm not the biggest fan of this desktop stand or most desktop stands anyway. To me, if a desktop stand is going to be included, it should be something more like this. This is at least adjustable. Sure, it's not going to stop, sounds from your desk getting into your microphone, but this is a better option. With this, you're just kind of stuck. But as far as the features go, the mute button's good. I do wish I had a gain knob, like I said. 24-bit at 96 kilohertz is great. It's definitely a lot more capable in that area compared to the USB Plus. But taking everything into consideration, the sound as well as the price tag, I'm just not sure this microphone is a great value. With this being the most expensive microphone in the comparison, I just don't think it stood out as being a lot better or even much better than the other microphones. And that comparison made me realize just how good of a deal the FiFine K678 really is at $50. I just think that the world we live in, there are so many options out there, and there are some that are very good deals that it's hard to justify this microphone at $150. But if you're dead set on this microphone and you love the sound of it and it's in your price range, I mean, you won't be unhappy, but I do think that you could get a different USB condenser microphone and be just as happy and save some money. But I would highly, highly recommend and encourage you to look at getting some audio interfaces and getting an XLR microphone. There's a lot of versatility there. So the grade that I would give the Audio-Technica AT2020 USB-X is a C-. With my grading system, a C means average. It's worth the money, but you're not getting a super good deal. So with this being a C-, I'm essentially saying, I wish the price was a little bit lower, and actually for the price, you're not getting a great deal. The more that I listened to this review and edited the last section and everything, I just ended up liking this microphone less and less. I forgot this microphone's right there. That's distracting. Don't look at that. I just think for $150, that's steep for what you're getting. Other people may be different, but I did notice some sibilance for my voice in particular when it came to the USB-X. I really just don't recommend the USB-X. I think I actually got to drop it a little bit. I think I'd maybe give it a D+. I would personally recommend going for something like this, the Tannoy TM1, bought out by Behringer, so it's actually the Behringer TM1 now. This mic goes for around $100 to $130. Then you can get an inexpensive audio interface for like $50, the Behringer UM2 or the M Audio Solo. And if you were to find this used, you could absolutely get this and an interface and a cable for less than the USB-X. So I just think there are better options out there, and I can't recommend the AT2020 USB-X. But thank you all for watching this review of the Audio-Technica AT2020 USB-X. I hope it helped you out, helped you decide whether you want to get one of these or not, but most of all, I hope you had fun. Stay tuned for a lot more videos, and if you want to go check out my podcast with Bark from Obscure Mics, I'll link that down below. It's called the Obscure Hotline. But thank you to everyone that subscribes to the Audio Hotline, and an even bigger thank you to these beautiful, gorgeous people that are members of the Audio Hotline. If you want to be as sexy hot as they are, you can press the join button down below. Once again, thank you all for watching the Audio Hotline. I'll see you audio nerds next time.